Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I've got a guest star. This is my boyfriend Patrick, and we've written down some book questions. Patrick's more of a casual book reader. I'm more of an intense book reader. So we're gonna ask each other these questions and just see how our answers compare. And I hope you enjoy.
Yeah, this should be fun. I read occasionally and not very much, and Hannah reads 150 books a year, so there's going to be quite some big differences between our answers, I think. Yeah.
Question number 1. How many books are on your TBR pile?
So I don't really do a TBR pile. My TBR pile is none. I tend to read one book and then I think to myself, all right, what am I going to read next, rather than thinking about what I'm going to read in advance. So I don't really have a TBR pile, as it were. I own a few books that I haven't read yet, but I don't think of them in the same way.
No.
How about you? How many in your TBR pile right now?
255? 255.
It's all right. You just have to move at some point. Okay, question 2. How often do you give up on a book partway through reading it?
Very rarely. I think since I started tracking my books in 2015, I've given up on 7. So
that's pretty rare.
One a year.
Yeah. Whereas I do tend to give up on books fairly often, like probably maybe 1 in 5 to 1 in 10, that kind of number. It takes me so long to read a book that I think I don't want to commit the time to spending a load of time reading a book I'm not enjoying. So
it hasn't initially grabbed you.
Yeah, if it doesn't get me, I'll give up on it and move on to another book.
Hasn't even read Good Omens. He did not finish that.
Didn't enjoy it. Didn't read it.
Disgusting.
Disgusting.
Number 3, easy one. Who's your most owned author?
So the author I own most books by is definitely John le Carré. I've probably got about 7 or 8 of his books at the moment, and I've been smashing through basically only reading his books for the last year or so. I've probably read at least 6 or 7 of them in the last year.
If you have any recommendations of authors similar,
oh yeah,
let
I'd love
us know.
to hear them. Please let us know in the comments below. How about you, Han?
Mine's got to be Terry Pratchett. I think it's a very obvious answer, but there's 41 books in the Discworld series, and then there's so many spin-offs as well that, yeah, he has a lot of books.
Yeah.
They're all pretty though, so it's good.
They are lovely, yeah. I've also bought you, I think, probably at least half of them over the years. Yeah. Okay, question number 4. What book was your favourite book from school English lessons?
I think Pride and Prejudice. But when I was in 6th form, I also studied Birdsong by Sebastian Faulks, and that was really, really good. I really enjoyed that. I've still got my copy with all my weird little English annotations in it. What about you?
The book that sticks out most in my memory is Educating Rita. I don't know if you've read that one. It's a book about someone going into adult education. So she's kind of a working class woman who goes and makes a relationship with this tutor at an open university course. It's a fantastic book, and I've not read it in 20 years since I was at school, but be keen to give it another go, I think.
That sounds interesting. Question number 5. How many hours would you say you roughly spend reading a week?
I'd say probably around 2 hours a week on average. There are some weeks where I don't read anything at all. Other weeks where I read an hour or 2 every day. So on average, I'd say it probably works out to about 2 hours a day. 2 hours a week. 2 hours a week, not a day.
Not a day.
Definitely not 2 hours a day. How about you?
I put 5 or 6, but based on your 2 hours a day, I think it might be more.
Oh god, yeah, you definitely read for more than 5 or 6 hours a week. Yeah.
7 or 8?
Yeah, at least.
8 or
Yeah,
9?
at least an hour a day.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
Yeah, for sure. Terrible answer.
Try
Try harder. Question number 6. What book had the biggest emotional impact on you?
This one was really hard to answer. I don't get upset by books very often, but I remember Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King. That whole trilogy just emotionally crippled me for so long afterwards. It was so funny. It was so sad.
Yeah, you've been recommending I read that one for a good while, so
Yeah,
I want to give
I
it a
think
try
you'd
at
really
some
enjoy
point.
it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was a really powerful book. I think because it was like the first non stereotypical horror book by Stephen King that I read, so I didn't really know what to expect from it.
Yeah, it's always good when you kind of come in with different expectations and it changes how you feel.
What about you?
For me, it's The Road by Cormac McCarthy. I finished that book about 2 a.m. and yeah, cried like a little kid with a skinned knee. Just absolutely bawling my eyes out on my own in bed a few years ago. Yeah, very good book though. Would fully recommend that one.
Yeah, I studied that in college. It was harrowing.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect word to describe it.
Question number 7. How many bookmarks do you own?
This was a question which I have never even thought about considering. Bookmarks are just not a thing to me that has any real interest. I think I probably own 3 or 4, and I'm fairly sure you've bought them all for me. I usually use like a random receipt or a bit of like paint sample card or something along those lines. Don't really think about bookmarks at all. How about you? Did you count?
Yeah, I've got 51.
An unnecessary number of bookmarks.
Just get one for each book.
You can have a different one each week and then get a new one for Christmas.
And there's probably more as well, because I tend to finish a book and I'll just leave it in the back and be like, boop, that's gone forever. Boop.
Cool.
Cool.
Okay, for the last question, we've got a kind of fun one. We've each written a question that the other one hasn't seen or prepared in advance. So we're going to ask that and then see the off-the-cuff responses from the other person. So my question is, you only have the ability to save one of your books from a fire. You've got to try and pick which book you're going to rescue.
My question. All my books are burning.
Okay, we've officially been together too long. I'm just going to go. So I would save your big thick copy of Good Omens.
Yeah, that's what I'd probably save as well.
Good. I'm glad we'd be pulling out the same book at the same time. That's ridiculous. And this is why you prepare in advance. Right. Well, thanks for having me on the show. This has been a lot of fun.
Thank you for joining.
Good to be on this side of the camera for once.
Yeah. Patrick tends to do all like the editing and the background fancy stuff on my videos, so yeah.
Fancy's a bit
He can
strong.
have fun listening to himself back again later. I hope you enjoyed. I hope you had fun meeting Patrick as well. If there's any other questions you want to ask either of us, we both have very different reading styles and reading ways, so it could be fun to do another comparison video. But I hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye. Is that pause awkward?
Awkward enough pause for you?
Tonight on the BookTube channel.